What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Crew 2, and in this video I will be taking a look at the Proto Alpha Mark II after the handling update. So if you guys were wondering, by the way, basically every single Alpha GP car actually got this except the KTM Expo R Spear Racing and the regular KTM Expo R as well, because those already actually had a good handling model. So I really don't think those actually needed this, but I also do believe they actually put a similar handling model on the RB14 originally, which made this car an absolute monster in basically every single way. I will also leave a tag on the screen if you guys do want to check out the video for this vehicle. But one thing I do want to mention, by the way, guys, I will be doing videos on all of the Alpha GP vehicles with the updated handling, including the RB14 Disruption and or the Mark X, and probably one of my personal favorites, the RB13. I also have no idea why I have those tires on that F1 vehicle, but I really do feel like a lot of people are going to love this update, mainly because a lot of the other cars are actually going to be useful. I'm sure a lot of people got tired of seeing the Spear Racing and or the regular KTM, which I was noticing for quite a while that every single leaderboard was basically covered in the KTMs for that matter, so I would definitely say a lot of people are going to love to be seeing different Alpha GP vehicles being used now. In this video though, guys, I will be taking a look at the Proto Alpha Mark II, which is definitely a pretty interesting looking car for that matter. I really don't think I used this thing much in the past, and obviously with the other vehicles being kind of bad besides the KTM, I really don't think anybody was actually using this car either. So I wanted to start out with this car not only because it looks kind of odd, it's also going to be the size of a small train and or a small yacht as well. So this is going to be a pretty dang big vehicle, plus the tires are huge. So if you guys haven't driven this car in a minute, it's definitely going to be kind of weird. But one of the biggest things I noticed about these Alpha GP cars being updated, guys, is due to the fact that many of them are actually going to be insanely fast with a top speed. I would say one of the biggest issues with the KTMs was the fact that they didn't honestly go that fast. And if we look at something like the RB14 doing 298 miles per hour, compared to the KTM doing like 277, that is going to make a very big difference on many of the escapes and or the bigger events as well. Even on most of the smaller tracks, I would say a higher top speed like that, with the way these F1 cars actually get up to speed, is probably going to be helpful. So the Proto Mark II actually does 297 to 298 miles per hour as well with a Nitrochemist set, making it much faster than the KTM as well. So I really do have a feeling, guys, this Alpha Mark II and or many of these Alpha GP vehicles are most likely going to start being used a lot more often now. So we're most likely going to be seeing a bigger difference in variety now, which is honestly kind of needed. I feel like a lot of people were kind of annoyed with seeing the same vehicles over and over again in some of these classes, and then some of the other cars were honestly just not useful, and they really weren't all that great with their handling and or stability, plus some of them honestly weren't that quick, so they're basically going to fall into a pit. But I really do feel like even though this Proto Mark II looks weird, because let's be honest, it really does, I would also say this car is easily going to be good enough to actually be used in the summits. I do plan on trying out some of these oddball vehicles in future summits when events do show up, and or some of the escapes as well. I will also try out something like the Proto Mark II. One of the biggest things I noticed about the Mark II right off the bat is probably going to be the handling. Now, we all know the handling update is obviously going to make the cars better, and my goodness, guys, I really do think they're onto something here, and I would actually love to see this on the other vehicles in the other classes, because I really do think that's needed. The Mark II feels so much better than it used to in the past, and I really do feel like driving this car around now is going to be a lot more fun. But not only that though, you can also jump into summits now and drive other vehicles to really mix up the quote-unquote meta, which if I had to guess, I would say most people are probably wanting this as well, including myself. So seeing other vehicles like the Proto Mark II and or other Alpha GP cars, which if I had to guess, I would say most people probably want to see a mix-up in the meta as well. So after this handling update, I really do think that's going to be taking effect now. So I would say, guys, one of the biggest things about this that you're probably going to notice, even with the touring cars as well, is the fact that they're going to feel so much more stable in certain areas now compared to before. I was noticing with many of the Alpha GP cars, which I would say is probably their biggest flaw, at least before, is the way they were feeling when you were trying to go around corners and or, dodge certain things on the road, for escapes, and or when you guys were on the tracks trying to get around those turns correctly. I was noticing the cars were just not feeling all that great, plus they felt very unstable, which that's also going to hurt confidence when trying to go around corners in a certain way. So seeing the RB14 actually get updated really gave me hope on seeing this on the other cars, and now the other Alpha GP vehicles are going to be so much better than what they were before, guys. I definitely recommend jumping on and trying these out if you have not. Even something like the Proto Mark II is definitely going to be an odd looking vehicle. I really don't think I've seen anybody actually run this car in the past, so I really do think that's probably going to change now, because I would say this car is going to be a lot better. Is it going to be like the best Alpha GP car in the game now? To be honest, I really don't think so. Then again, at the same time, I would also say this car is still going to be a great option for Summit's indoor racing in general. I was really surprised with how good this car actually felt on the races. It really is going to be a great vehicle to use on Summits if you guys want to try out something different. It's definitely not going to be like the best overall Alpha GP vehicle, but I would definitely say this thing's still going to be a great option. I mean, my goodness, it does 297 miles per hour to 298, which 1 mile per hour is probably not going to make that much of a difference. But one thing I did notice about that, by the way, guys, I do want to mention. So obviously the Mark II is going to redline at like 18,000 RPM, which is probably going to sound absolutely insane in real life. I would say that's probably going to be like insanely like deafening if you guys were close to that. But one thing I did notice with the Proto Mark II though is probably going to be the way this car eats nitrous when trying to get that speed higher. But then again, I really haven't used the other Alpha GP cars to really see how they do with this. I also do think the higher RPMs on this car might have something to do with that, but I really do want to know what you guys think about the Proto Mark II in the comments below. Not only is this car going to feel so much better when racing it, that handling and stability is also going to be felt instantly when racing this vehicle. After using the Mark II for a little bit, guys, I cannot wait to try out the other Alpha GP vehicles as well, so definitely stay tuned for those videos in the near future. And here are the settings I'm currently running on this vehicle.